Hey guys, hi, welcome back once again. My name is Vaishali, and having learned through human interactions and having pursued my master's in business administration and clinical psychology, which has enhanced, enriched, and expanded my fascination in humans as a species, who's both a unique individual alongside being a social creature, probably puts us in a unique place, in a very unique dimension, which probably no other species on this planet enjoys. Which is why I'd today like to talk about the use of our language, the use of our verbal language. The words that we use to communicate our thoughts, our feelings, and our emotions. The words, the thoughts, the feelings, and the emotions that we use to interact, which of course quite naturally, as the word itself says, interact, is a two-way process. It's a two-way street. Or maybe it's even a junction, a square, a choraha, through which many streets connect, through which many streets interact. And so is the dynamic with our language, which in a way also tells me that the language in itself is then quite dynamic, which in turns tell me that our thoughts, our feelings, and our emotions and our interactions on both personal and interpersonal level is pretty dynamic. And thereby our relationships, our interactions, both on personal and interpersonal levels, are pretty dynamic as well. Which then further goes on to tell me implicitly and quite explicitly at this point in time that none of these things are stagnant. Because the time they become stagnant, they start to become stale. It also tells me that they are a living entity in themselves, that they have levels of impact on implicit levels that we may not recognize explicitly unless we begin to use them explicitly, mindfully. So here's one example to kind of demonstrate how our words, with regards to our thoughts, feelings, emotions, in keeping with our interactions both on interactive, and on personal level, which also is interactive, shapes our beliefs with regards to the usage of the word or the words, and thereby shape our thoughts, our behaviors, and our interactions, both on personal and interpersonal levels. So many a times we would have heard people say, and we would have also caught on the message that I have so many responsibilities on my shoulders, that I'm carrying so many responsibilities on my back, that there are so many responsibilities that I have to take care of, that I should be taking care of, that I'm bogged down by so many responsibilities. And in a way, those words, in association with those thoughts, feelings, and emotions, are communicated, kind of implicitly give us the message that responsibility is not freedom. That being free is actually being responseless, is being irresponsible, wherein one doesn't have to take any accountability for their words, their thoughts, their feelings, their emotions, and their actions, or slash and their reactions. And on some level, it kind of gives the implication or the understanding that we don't like to be empowered. There's a part of us that doesn't like to be empowered. For responsibility or response ability actually gives us more power to shape our responses, to create our responses, which then on some level implicitly gives the understanding that we are afraid of freedom. We are actually afraid of being free. For if freedom is our birthright, for if being free gives us the ability to make choices, and choices only happen when we have the space to respond and not react, on some level then implies that it calls for accountability as well. So now let's understand it in more direct ways. So when we use the word responsibility as a baggage, as a burden, as something that holds us captive, as something that confines and conforms us and limits our freedom and the powers that freedom give us, we are giving conflicted messages to ourselves and to others on a very subconscious, unconscious level, wherein we are actually implying that responsibility is a baggage and a burden. It's actually another form of implied slavery. While on the other hand, if we become more mindful with regards to the usage of our words, anything, any interaction, any association that conforms us, that confines us, that inhibits our freedom, and thereby our responses, might actually be an obligation, a liability, and not necessarily a responsibility, responsibility. It's only when we are obligated, it's only when we feel liable that we feel conformed and confined. And that's not to say that we might not be experiencing obligations or liabilities on some level, that some of our interactions and thereby those relationships might not be obligatory. They very likely might be, but they are not responsibility. For responsibilities gives us choices. It gives us the ability to respond, to change our responses, to better reframe our responses, to think through our responses. Which kind of reminds me of this dialogue in the movie PK. इस गोला का पूरा communication system ही lull हो गया है. The communication system amongst human in this planet is skewed, probably even quite messed up. And since our subconscious registers messages exactly as they are spoken and as they are received, which is happening on a personal level and on every interpersonal level through every interpersonal interaction, which quite naturally is a process of exchange, give and take. And if it is happening almost continuously and consistently for many days and many years and many decades, quite naturally on the deepest level we register responsibility and obligations and liabilities in the same breath, within the same realm and space. And so long as we don't become a little aware, a little mindful about the way we use our words, which quite naturally translates into thoughts and feelings and emotions, which are an embodied expression, which then translates through our behavior and our body language. Quite naturally, it's going to impact our belief systems differently. Quite naturally, it's going to impact our interactions differently, our associations differently, our body language differently, our interpersonal relationships differently, and our understandings and slash plus or our misunderstandings very differently. So then the words that we utter not just becomes a part of our verbal vocabulary or language, it also becomes an embodied expression of our body language through our body language. So then let's try and become a little more mindful, a little more aware of the way we use our language. For it's not just words that are coming out, it also becomes an embodied experience and expression. And just like through that movie, that alien had noticed, had given us the message that idhar ka communication system pura lull ho chuka hai, that the communication system of this planet is skewed, is messed up. Let's try to become aware of that so that we can begin fixing it up. To reduce miscommunications, to reduce disharmony, to enable more understanding, to enable more empathy, to enable more connectivity, to enable more trust and more harmony, both on personal and interpersonal levels. Let's give that some more thought. Let's try and reflect and work on that. And I will see you once again the next week. Till then, stay tuned in. And guys, if you do like the contextual content of these videos, please do like, share, and subscribe.